Alrighty, guys. So we have gone through a pretty good chunk of it. We only have, I believe, 3 more videos to go over for this part. Then there's another indicator, and we're going to go over that just as much as we've gone in depth on this one. But this video is going to be all about the color coding. Okay, what do the colors mean? Okay, now I talked about it in the overview, but it's really all about when a company is overvalued and undervalued. Now, could you miss, because these indicators go hand in hand, okay? And they're truly meant on the 1 day and the weekly and the monthly is meant to capture the bigger moves. Can you capture these smaller moves? Yes. Okay. Yes, you can. You can capture those if you want to. But you also want to capture the big move. You don't want to capture this move. You want to capture this move. Okay. So, what does the color coding mean exactly? It is the company's value. The easiest way for me to explain it, which is another indicator in that everyone's used, I'm pretty sure, while charting, while knowing, I think step one of learning stocks is probably an RSI, right? Like that tells us roughly if a company is undervalued and overvalued. Well, that's what these colors are. Okay. They're to tell you if the company is overvalued or undervalued. Okay. So as we are creeping down, okay, we are getting more undervalued. More undervalued. Okay. Now we've entered. So now there's a certain zone, right? We've hit this certain zone where we become into an adding zone. We're not super undervalued to the point where we are in a buy zone, right? But we have hit a yellow zone, which is still really undervalued, but not as undervalued as a green zone will be. Same thing here. We started creeping up to our selling zone, right? Because our entering a buy zone and our add zone was down here. Now we've creeped up. Okay. Well, how much did we creep up since there? Let's grab the measuring here. If we just grab the middle here, right? Okay. We've gone up 20%. Okay. The goal isn't to buy when we've already moved 20%. The goal is to be buying down here. Okay. Sure. If you went ahead and you bought and you weren't listening to the indicator and you bought up here and now you're back up and you're like, okay, I see we're moving. Sure. Could you double down? Absolutely. Go ahead and double down. Right. But that's not the strategy. Our strategy is to know that we are in an ads or starting to enter a sell zone, entering a sell zone or entering a buy zone. Sorry. Entering a buy zone. We are entering, right? That means we are getting ready. We are slowly entering into the zone of which should be paying attention to be making a move here. Okay. So go ahead. And now we've entered an add zone. Next is the buy zone. Okay. Then you slip into a selling zone. You've entered into a trim zone. And if it kept going up, you entered the sell zone. It's the same way as it is for adding and buying as it is for selling and trimming. Okay. It just slowly, gradually gets higher. Okay. And it shows you all the different colors. Okay. Grays are going to be your neutral zones. What does that mean? Pretty neutral. You can go ahead and take the signal if you want to. You can not. It's not super. It's not undervalued and it's not overvalued. It's just kind of fairly valued. If you wanted to go ahead and take the win, you could take the win. But it's a kind of a moment as far as like doing something. And to me, how do I treat them? I treat them as invalid. And that's why I said when you see this little diamond down here on this neutral, what would I have done? I would have ignored it. I'm not looking for that win. I'm looking for this one up here. Okay. So neutral zone diamonds to me, ignored. Don't even do anything with them. Okay. But just because that's my strategy doesn't mean it's your strategy. That's why I leave them there. Could I have created the filter so that way if it landed on a neutral candle, it didn't notify us? Yeah. But I still want to know when there's a bearish signal, when we've hit somewhat into a sell zone or a neutral zone. Same thing. I want to know if there is a right here. Same thing. An add diamond, a yellow diamond here, came into our neutral zone. It's invalid to me. I'm not buying. It's not super undervalued and it's not super overvalued. It's not great. Same thing. Look at could have bought. Nope. Could have bought. Nope. Could have bought. Nope. Could have bought. No. Now I want to buy. Okay. Does that make sense? I'm not a fan of buying or selling on neutral candles. Okay. Here, let me remove that. Light pink. You can listen to that. To me, a light pink candle with a confirmation here can be a small trim. Like if I just bought here, right, and we got here, let me go ahead and grab that depending on where you bought, but boom. Okay, we're roughly almost a 50% gain in a matter of January 31st to February 21st, 50% return in less than 30 days. Probably going to go ahead and trim a good chunk of that. I can take half off the table, right? That's how you'd have to think about and manage your position of how much. But that is a valid momentum in somewhat of a sell zone. So I'm not selling out. That's not a sellout moment, right? Because we could see this and then bounce right back up, right? But could I take a good chunk because it was 50% in less than 30 days? Absolutely. Invalid. I would have bought. Invalid. You could have trimmed if you wanted to again, but again, if it just all comes down to how much are you up? Is it worth it to you? You bought at an amazing price on the 200-day moving average. Okay. You would have bought and sold 26% in 44 days or 64 days. That's not nearly as good as what we had 50% in less than 30 days, right? 10% maybe you would have trimmed, something like that, but I don't think it would have been a heavy trim. And sure enough, you can get right back into it, add that percentage right back in. So if you trim 10%, go ahead and add your 10% back in. Now you got your confirmation. Go ahead. You can go ahead. Entered selling zone. We've now entered a trim zone. Okay. This is more adamant about trimming. This is saying do it. This is saying you could do it. You could do it. You should do it. Okay. Does that make sense? Same thing. If you're in here and you got a green diamond, and actually I think there is one later on. Yeah, there is. Okay. So trim, two trims, trim. Okay. Go ahead and buy with whatever you trimmed. Go ahead and buy. Invalid. Neutral zone. Go ahead and trim. Again. Here is up to you moments. Okay. They're completely up to you because not every time a yellow diamond on a light green is going to be a bounce right off the bat. Okay. It's not going to happen every time. Can it happen? Yes. But like I said, that light green is telling you it's not super undervalued. This, you're undervalued. You are trying and you are just entered undervalued, right? So like if there was a center line there, well, that just got under the center line, okay? And it was here, and then we got momentum, okay? But it didn't get down here to get into the true undervalued zone. It just was getting there, okay? So could you add? Absolutely, you can add. Am I going all in with whatever cash I have at that moment? No. Where's their downside? Down here. On that day, downside was 38. It was 54. I wasn't going to go all in knowing that I could still drop roughly $16 more a share, right? So this is where this helps me understand how much I should probably put into a stock based on the opportunity it's giving me on undervalued versus overvalued. Okay. So go ahead, add a little bit. To me, invalid. Okay. Sure enough, we get a better opportunity. Pretty bad day to day, but bullish on ASTS. I'm just going to continue with what we have going on here. As long as we stay in a channel, we are completely fine. And that's how I would do it. Okay. I can go to another one. I think Rocket Lab. We'll go to this one. There. This is if you had that light green, like ASTS, you got a diamond on here. This is what I mean, because this is a pretty far drop, right? If you got a green or a yellow diamond here, you could have bought, but you could also have gone down to the yellow zone and the green zone where this is truly undervalued. Okay. And then a green or any sort of diamond in these zones of undervalued are way better than a light green, a light red, a neutral, right? Those are just creeping into the zone of which you truly want to buy or truly want to sell. Okay. Again, Here you are. There's a purple, sell all. Okay. Typically, and I'll show you another one why I say sell all, because this is just early on in the company becoming super undervalued and then overvalued. Okay. Back down here, go ahead and buy. Okay. Here's your light pink chop. This is why I say it's up to you. Do little trimming, however you want to manage it, but little trimming, invalids, a bunch of invalids. So 1 invalid, 2 invalid, 3 invalid, 4 invalid. There, now you can get there. That's $28. Okay. So if you bought there and you got to your 20, or is it $28 roughly? There's a 50% return. You're going to go ahead and take half, maybe, whatever it may be if you choose to. But those are valid. Those are technically valid small trims. Okay. So you can go ahead and do that. Now you're up here. You technically have a red wick on that one. So that is a sell. That doesn't mean you need to sell all. How you manage your position is up to you. I think my ratio right now is roughly like 10% when I do trims and 25% when I do sells. Okay. Sure enough, you sold 25%. We can go ahead higher. Here's your top and your red again. Sell another 25%. Ride this down. Go ahead and buy. When my buys come in, depending on, but typically it's a 25% buy, which I clearly have available now that I've trimmed 50% or trimmed 20, sold 50, down to 70. I sold 70% of it. Now I can go ahead and lean in or just do my 25%. Here's an invalid. Here is a valid. You can go ahead and sell another 10% if you wanted to, and then you can go ahead and hire. Again, not financial advice on the trims or the sells as far as how much you want to manage and everything like that, but just talking as far as the greater the overvalued, the more you should probably look into trimming or selling more than the less undervalued, if that makes sense to you. Okay. Same thing. If a stock was right here, like you can say I bought, 25%, and then it goes down here and you're like, man, I wish I had that 25% to put down here. Right. That's why you put like 10 here, 15 here, that's how you do it. The more undervalued is actually when you should lean in more versus here, you should actually take a nibble, right? So that's how the zones work. They help you quickly load a chart, see exactly where you are, right? If I saw we were here, okay, we're in a neutral zone. I'm not too interested in a neutral zone, right? I would have waited and be like, oh man, I missed, Oh, just kidding. Okay, now I'll buy. No. Okay, we got to trim some. We had neutral, trim, neutral, 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 right? So it just depends on the day, but we've had huge winners. This is the perfect example of what I mean. You can take a nibble. ASTS, it took off from here. It's going to happen every time. No, you're going to go ahead and you bought some at 33. Okay, now you got some confirmations and now you can buy some at 26 and 27. And this is when you lean into the stock a little more. So when you're getting these diamond confirmations and it's bouncing off of this moving average, that's when you go ahead and put your foot into it and everything like that. This you take a nibble at because it can always turn around. But I would take a nibble here. I would lean into it here. Okay. That's how the zones work. Quickly glance at it. I remember, for example, path was a fun one. Okay. We've done great. Here's your path moment. Light green, yellow. Can those moments have moments? Yes. So what do? We just take a nibble. Okay. So sure enough, when it took off, I don't know how many messages I got, but people were, should I buy? Should I buy? Should I buy? Should I buy? No. I can quickly load my chart up and tell you no, right? That's the point of the chart and the indicator, is to quickly be able to just load it and see, nope, it's light pink. I missed my chance. Okay, I'll wait. Put it on your watch list, watch it every day, wait till it comes down, whatever it may be. That is exactly how you read the zones. Here's your buys. You're under the moving average, so you can wait for a weekly. You can look at the weekly, see if we got anything. There's a weekly. Boom, weekly, weekly, weekly. 3 buys near the bottom on all the weeklies. You would have accumulated perfectly at 11. You would accumulate somewhere in the 11 and somewhere in the 11, maybe 12. Accumulated. All 3 under the 200-day, all on the weekly time frame. So you would have bought 3 times over the course of almost a year and a half. Okay, that's plenty of time. That's not actively trading that stock. That is buying a stock you truly believe in throughout time until it's ready for its moment. Okay, That's how the color ranges work. Like I said, it's going to be green when it's underneath. Why? Because the company is undervalued. Okay. Does it mean it's a winning company? No, I'm not. I'm not investing in like CDs right now, right? Like I have to believe in the company. That's like the number one rule is to believe in a company. Okay. So that's color ranges. We have one more, which is going to be our automatic trend lines, which is a very important indicator, guys. Took a very long time to code that correctly, and I'm super excited for you guys to have that because I have not found anything better on TradingView, free, or really I don't think I've seen really a paid one when I've searched it. So I'm super excited for it. All right, guys, I'll see you guys in the next one.